So, this is the last session of the Indonesia Insurance Summit 2025, Reimagining the Future of Insurance, Innovation for Sustainable Future. Welcome back to this session. I'm Karin Sulkarnain. I will be your moderator for this session. We will soon start this final session. And by the way, this is the life insurance breakout room. So if you're looking forward for the agriculture discussion, you should go to the general insurance. And if you wanted to hear more about the spin-off, the Sharia spin-off, you can join the next room for Sharia. And if you're unsure where to go, this is the right room for you because we will talk about the future. We're talking about AI in this room. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce you to our speaker today. We are very fortunate to have Pang Xue Kai. Kai is the founder of Untukmu AI, which innovate the future of gifting by using cutting-edge technology, innovative ideas, and personalized solution. Expert in cryptocurrency, he founded Tokocrypto and successfully sold this, acquired 3 years ago. And Tokocrypto, by the way, it was Indonesia's largest regulated digital asset exchange. Kai is currently building AI Blockchain Automation Center of Excellence for Indonesia. He also served as Honorary Secretary at the Singapore Chamber of Commerce Indonesia and the Deputy Head of Department Asset Management at Asosiasi Fintech Indonesia. Kai is a Singaporean who calls Bali home. I just found out that he's also a Dragon Boat, on the Dragon Boat team, an avid runner, so he's very happy to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking about AI for a number of years in this stage. Its application to our business process, it's supposed to make life easier and relevant for our customer. As AI continues to evolve, its impact on the insurance and financial sector is becoming increasingly profound. We have seen how AI streamline our operation, but also redefining how we understand, evaluate, and manage risk. So, what's next? We hear some words mentioned repeatedly today. We hear the word inclusive, accelerate growth, and governance. So how should we reinvent ourselves? We usually been told that we don't know what tomorrow brings. But in this session, we beg to differ. So let's hear future forward, and let's hear a vision of what can be and what should be like for our industry. So Kai, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Bu Karin, and thank you all for attending today's session. It's really an exciting opportunity for me to be here. I'm really excited to be able to share more with you about what I think AI can come in to help life insurance industry in general. But first and foremost, as a disclaimer, I'm not in the insurance industry. I'm not a policy expert. I'm not an actuary. I'm probably not the smartest person in the room as well. But one thing for sure is that with AI, or artificial intelligence, we no longer need to be experts or the brightest person in the room anymore, because what AI helps for us is that it helps us to analyze wealth of data and process it so that it gives it to us in a manner that we can understand, we can appreciate, and we can use it in our daily lives. And basically that's what I'm going to share today. I was going to go ask a question, maybe Bukarin, maybe you want to share your thoughts about what you think this slide means to you.
It's interesting, people trying to watch this softball match. They do everything they can. Yeah.
What about the things that the people are standing on?
It has progresses from a basic box that this little boy can find to books to the robot.
Exactly, straight on point. So previously we always have learned, or our parents have taught us, that knowledge is power. Go to school, get good grades and try to excel so that we can be successful in life. But what we are seeing right now is that AI is becoming a very important aspect of this for us as well. Because what AI does is that it helps elevates humanity so that we are able to enjoy the knowledge and the data that was previously in the past and process it in a way that so that we can implement it in our daily lives. Just like how the previous session, Pak Toto has mentioned about how data is a new currency, data is the new oil. Data is essentially very important to us right now, and it's definitely going to be the future, especially so in the industry that I'm sure all of you, in life insurance industry, that I'm sure all of you are very excited to hear about and discuss today. So I'll move on to the next slide. I think this has already been covered. My name, you can just call me Kai, or Bli Kai, because I stay in Bali. And yeah, really excited. You can just scan me if you want to get connected, and we can have a chat in the future. In the future. So the thing with life insurance now is that what if this industry could progress and advance into a way that it does not just predict when something bad happens to you, but is able to prevent it. And this is possible through what we see is a form of artificial intelligence now, because it's now able to process a lot more data than what was previously able to be done. So I was just discussing with Bukarin about the concept of straight-through process, percentage and numbers, and how I just learned that why some of the numbers or the percentages aren't so high is because there's a threshold limit that is currently set so that if your claim is above a certain limit, it doesn't go through the straight-through process. And there are reasons why this is so, right? Fraud, if it's a big claim, you need a human to come in and kind of look at the data and analyze it. But what if I tell you that right now, with artificial intelligence, that we could map currently what a human is doing, the process, and the process of processing a claim because it's above a certain limit, we could map that process and let the AI learn from it, and eventually it will help us improve the straight-through process, increase the threshold limit, and reduce the number of fraud cases. Insurance have evolved for a very long time. Since 3000 BC, there was the idea of risk sharing. Insurance is, correct me if I'm wrong, is mostly about sharing the risk. Sharing the risk amongst the policy buyers, the community. It has evolved from traditional paper-based and a more reactive industry and into a digital world. I am a policy holder, of course. I've seen my agent likes to carry an iPad and put in the numbers, things like that. And what we are moving forward is to something into what we call predictive. Instead of a one-time process where I fill up my date of birth. Usually the process for life insurance is that I fill up my date of birth. They will ask me, are you a smoker or are you not a smoker? Are you an alcoholic? Of course I say no, I only sometimes drink with my friends. What if that process could now be changed in a way, we're just discussing as well, what if the data could be taken from things like our digital watches? What if you could get real-time data instead of whatever that I filled in the form? Now this would make it so that the policies, the premiums will now be something that is way more personalized for me. I don't get a generic premium that's offered to me. I get something that is personalized, is calculated, so that it's within my budget. Of course, that's the most important. And that could potentially be the future. Of course, there's things like fraud. How do I make sure that the person wearing the digital watch is really the person? How do I make sure that the reports are accurate and correct? And as Bukarin pointed out, now you can even fake your Strava data as well. So there's definitely a lot of challenges that is going to come out. But I think the evolution of life insurance is definitely there. The customers are demanding for more personalized and customized policies. Me, for an example, I'm always thinking, hey, should I renew this year or not? I've been hearing a lot of stories about insurance as well from my friends. And it's always a constant thing that we are always thinking about. Now, the next step, the vision about insurance is something that's preventive. Life insurance is always a matter about spreading your risk. Now, what if instead of just spreading my risk, I could reduce my risk in a way that, a life insurance that actually helps me live longer? How? By doing things like programs that helps to monitor my health, give me recommendations, not just, insurance is not just no longer just about selling me a policy, but also after you sell the policy, working with me so to make sure that I never need to use or to claim that policy. And there are ways to do it, which AI is able to come in, things like reading my health data and offering me recommendations on things like exercise more, drink less, or things like reduce sodium intake. And there's basically a lot of data that's coming up right now. So why are we here today? I'm sure you guys are also asking yourselves this question, like why does life insurance needs to be looked at? I think the first thing first is, it needs reinvention. The customers are asking for more speed, more transparency, more fairness. They want to see how a policy is actually calculated, why they are paying for certain premiums. Because if we can explain why they are paying for certain, because when we talk about life insurance, there's always the component about death inside. Now, death is a very sensitive topic, and it's definitely a very hard process to sell a product when you're talking about death. But if we could somehow find a way using AI to kind of explain to the end customer, now the understanding, the perception would definitely be able to be changed from that. So some of the things that we are seeing in the insurance industry, we've seen AI, especially on risk assessment. In Ping An, for example, all these are data that I see from the internet. Correct me if I'm wrong. So in Ping An, 93% of the policies are currently underwritten by AI within seconds. There's a move from averages to more personalized models. I haven't seen names yet, but in terms of the form filling, it's now the move towards real-time health tracking. Maybe not implemented in Indonesia yet, but I'm sure in some countries, some insurance underwriters, they are already looking to explore this as part of the product offering that they can offer to their customers, which I think is definitely something very exciting. Because I don't drink, I don't smoke, but I do exercise very regularly. So I presume I should pay a lower premium than someone who doesn't exercise or eats a lot, and things like that. So AI in claims management is also something that is currently being looked at. AIA has 63% of claims that's paid on the same day. Lemonade, 3-second claim settlement. Ping An, 7.4 minutes average time of claims. And this is all accomplished through AI. Now, take a step back. What is AI? AI basically does this process of looking at past case studies of claims and to use that data to determine if a claim is valid or not. So what we are doing previously, what humans have been doing previously, we're now using this new technology to process and to see whether there is fraud and things like that. So yeah, that's one of the things that AI could help, especially in claims management. So in terms of preventive insurance, this is one example of a flow that we could potentially see. A user can share their health behavior, and the AI is able to calculate a score on that. And whenever it detects maybe, you have been drinking the previous night or things like that, the AI can come in to intervene. And if you choose to continuously be, consuming alcohol for long periods of time, there could be a stage whereby there's a premium adjustment that is implemented in this case. So previously it was not doable because all this data, there's just too much data for humans to process. But what AI can do is that it's able to process all this data in a shorter period of time. This one thing that I really like a lot is the idea of invisible insurance, which is embedded in apps. We've always seen things like super apps coming up. So I think one of the big shifts is that insurance, rather than being very upfront, going up and trying to sell you, is now embedded into your apps, your daily apps, and you can just easily pick them. Not really AI-centric, but more a user interface and experience. Or it could be triggered by life events such as getting married or having a kid, and all this could trigger you a prompt whether you want to subscribe to a particular policy or not. Now, the interesting thing is that in the future, this could all be managed by AI agents, which does the process for the customers of thinking whether they need a particular policy or not, given their different stage of their lives. So this is something that I think is very interesting, and looking forward to see how it actually is implemented. It's not yet, but I'm excited to see how it's implemented. So why I'm here today and why you guys are probably listening to me. So what we are doing at ForU AI is, so the most important thing in life insurance is kind of the individual or the person, right? The identity. So what we are doing at ForU AI is that we are looking to create this concept of data avatars or decentralized identities and putting it on the blockchain. Think of it kayak KTP tapi kita mau taruh di on-chain. And basically, it allows for the users to be able to own their data. And because now there is the presence of data, the AI is able to negotiate and manage policies on the user's behalf. We can help to reduce the cases of fraud, because now we can make sure that the person that makes the claim is actually the person himself or herself. And of course, just now, Pak Gildas was talking about cybersecurity. That's why we want to tie it together with blockchain. We're using this technology, just now you mentioned about zero trust. We actually are using this technology called zero knowledge proof and Merkle tree, which ensures and enhances the security of people's data and their identity, and we tie it with AI for fairness and control. This is just some of the stats. I'm just going to skip through that. So, in summary, I'm going to wrap it up so that we got more time for Q&A. So what we gain by implementing AI in the space of life insurance is that we get faster onboarding. Think about no longer having to fill out forms, real-time underwriting, so we don't need to wait for a period whereby we wait until the policy is approved or not. Close to instant claims, I guess, and that is possible once we are able to verify, number one, a person's identity and the actual event that has happened. But this too was very important because that means that the data pipeline must be very robust, rigid, and secure, which allows for lower fraud and at the end of the day, happy customers, which would be good for us all too as well. So, like I mentioned, the challenges that we need to solve are things like data privacy, algorithmic fairness, which kind of comes in, if we leave all this calculation to AI, the question comes in like, what if one day the robot kind of comes in and takes over the world and messes up all the algorithms? Regulations is also something that needs to be looked at. Like previously we mentioned about using your watch data. I think that's something that regulators need to discuss very regularly together with asosiasis, supaya so that we need to make sure that the data privacy regulations are in place so that the partners working in the industry can abide to those regulations so that data is kept safe and secure. And the last thing is human empathy, which is something that I think is a good challenge. This means that, I guess, robots cannot really take over our lives and jobs because the part about empathy is something that they are not yet able to replicate. But we don't know. We'll see. Maybe Sam Altman with OpenAI might create something that has human empathy in the future. So, as some closing words, I hope that life insurance won't just protect us from risk, but it will also help us to avoid risk altogether.
Thank you. Let's see if there's any questions from the audience. We'll have some time to address the questions. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do have questions, you can submit the questions through Slido. Okay.
Please, not too hard questions, I hope.
We want hard questions here. Because AI seems to be solving a lot of the current pain points.
Maybe if you ask me a hard question, I'll ask AI first for the answer.
Yeah. Shall we do that? Maybe I'll have one here for you. So AI promises faster, more efficient claim processing, but how do insurers ensure that this automation doesn't compromise the fairness, the accuracy, and the fraud that sometimes occur? So what's best practices do you have to offer?
So what I would say is what needs to happen now. I believe that there is a lot of data that is kept like masing-masing. Contohnya the data of fraud cases. What we need to do is to actually compile all these fraud cases to train AI models so that they are able to pick up fraud cases in a better manner. I think that is one of the things that could address the issue of fraudulent claims, because now we are able to pick it up faster. But I must state that AI can only be able to do that if there is sufficient data for it to train on, right? Rubbish in, rubbish out. If you don't have enough data, it wouldn't be able to pick up and predict and detect what are the fraudulent cases as well.
So that's where people and AI needs to be fit in together. Yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah. We've got the second question coming in. Many insurance companies are trying to build their own AI engine to do STP claims by themselves. So how do you differentiate your AI models with them?
So I'm not building an AI model. So I think my opinion is that I think the different companies should actually work together to try to see if they could combine and kind of build a model that is shared amongst all the different insurance agencies. I don't know if that's possible, but if it is possible, I think it will be a game changer for the entire industry. I'm not focused on building the AI model. I'm more focused on the data that feeds the model. I'm more focused on the identity of the people and more on the data side.
So the key is how to build that model to begin with, collecting the data, building the model, and refining that model.
Yes. Yeah, gathering the data is actually more important. Gathering, storing, and then processing the data. Because the models don't just come out of thin air. There needs to be data sets for the model to train on. And it will keep improving and training until the accuracy goes up, and then it could actually be deployed in real life.
In fact, we need to be obsessed by collecting data if we ever want to attempt it, because then otherwise there is nothing to start with.
Yep, and I think Pak Toto and Pak Gildas mentioned very accurately that data, the importance of data, not just in insurance industry, it's all the industries that we are seeing.
Now, the next question is very interesting. Can you share how AI can help insurance to detect fraud in teleconsultation with doctor? Example, if it's used by someone else.
I think that one is less on AI, but more on whether there is a process or system. So I think what needs to be done is actually building a process or a system that identifies the person is who he or she is when doing teleconsulting. How can we do that? Biometrics, face scan. A lot of phones are already equipped with that technology already. I don't think that's a problem that AI is here to solve. It can pick up and detect, like say, for example, maybe a very simple, or I don't know if it's good or not, but like, if a guy is claiming for things like breast cancer, for example, then it can pick up. But I think that should be addressed not by AI, but looking at teleconsulting in itself. Working with teleconsulting companies to see if there are sufficient mechanisms put in place to make sure that the person is who she or he is.
So it's not the AI, but it's the credibility of the input or the data, the validation of the data. Similar to jockey Strava phenomenon that happens, right? Nothing's wrong with the watch, nothing's wrong with the data. What is wrong is a different runner.
Yeah, that's right. Honestly, I'm quite shocked when I saw that. I was like, why would anyone want to even do this?
Why? But anyway, we've got the next question. What if there are AI analysis that is not correct and creates a precedent case?
That's a very good question. I think that it creates a precedence case of a false prediction, right? I think the first thing that we need to agree on is that AI is not perfect, and that AI at the current state it is will definitely make mistakes. So I think we can, just like insurance, it's always about risk calculation. We have boundaries. Same like AI, it definitely will have chances of making mistakes, but we got to factor those risks in as well. That's the whole point of this entire exercise. The job or the role that we are all in is to see how we can minimize the risk, right? We cannot completely remove it, but we can try to see if we can minimize the risk. Yeah, I guess that's my answer. I hope that answers the question previously.
We've talked about pricing, we've talked about the usage of AI for claims, but how about accelerating growth? What is the use case of AI for sales or distribution?
I think that is a very interesting question. I think what AI can do is that it can help to, educate, explain the concept of life insurance in a better way. I must admit, prior to this session, I asked, I don't know which AI you use, but I personally use Grok. I asked Grok to explain life insurance to me like I'm a 10-year-old, and it did a good job. I mean,
what did it say?
So it basically says life insurance is basically a way of spreading risk, right? If there's a chance that you're gonna lose something, would it be better if you share it amongst your friends, for example? So yeah, that's how I explain, and that's kind of, and in a sense, I guess what AI can do is that it's able to explain in a manner that's easier to understand by more people, hence reducing the difficulty that not AI agents, but insurance agents faces whenever they are explaining a particular policy or, yeah.
Make sure it can be understood, basically, right?
Exactly.
We've got the next question. What is the challenge you face by regulatory by collecting personal data and compete with current KTP, the ID card, or build more efficient than the current e-KTP?
Okay. So the difference of the data that we are collecting right now versus what the KTP or e-KTP has, our definition of a person right now, we take it as their online digital activity. So we comply with all the GDPR regulations in terms of data collection and storage. We always have the users give consent, and we actually store the consent on the blockchain, which immediately becomes immutable, open, and transparent. Anyone can see it. Anyone can validate and verify the consent. So we make sure that we always get a consent before we get a user's data. Now, this, I would say in terms of the regulatory policies, especially in Indonesia, I think it's still catching up with what the rest of the world is currently doing. So, yeah, we try as much as we can to comply with global regulations. And just now, the technology that we use to ensure data security and privacy is also, we call it zero knowledge proof and Merkle tree. What zero knowledge proof is basically first we gather the data, we run it through an AI inference to kind of infer what the data means, and how we store the data is that, say, Bukarin, you have, let's say this, the knowledge that Bukarin, maybe you have you like eating apples, for example, right? So we don't store the fact that you like eating apples in our database or on chain. We kind of store the things that like, oh, you don't like apple, you don't like apples, you don't like durian, and basically everything else. And then from there, we can prove that you really don't like orange somehow. We can prove that, we can prove that you really like orange without actually storing the information that you like orange.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're currently.
It's a lot of data collection needs to happen.
It is a lot of processing, which is now, enabled through AI, a lot of data processing.
Next question. We all know AI have the potential to help us in insurance industry. If we can feed good data to create AI database, so how many data we need? Exactly what we just talked about. What is sufficient data?
I would say it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality and the relevancy. Now let me explain a bit more. It's not that if I feed 1,000 data, then I'll generate a good AI. No, it's about whether it's good quality. Contohnya, if I can get good photos of a fraudulent claim versus something that's low resolution, that's quality. And the second point is relevancy. The moment there is a fraudulent claim, be it in AIA, Prudential, Manulife, whichever of these insurance companies, it should be shared across that data. That's why I say relevancies, because humans are always very clever. They're always trying to think of ways to scam, to create fraudulent. But what we need to do is to make sure we have this network platform that allows us, the moment one happens, we share it all across so that everyone will be able to pick up and know that that's an example of a fraudulent case, and we can train a model to be able to pick it up next.
So maybe the final question, Kai, as you build AI blockchain automation center of excellence for Indonesia, how can you help the insurance industry?
I mean, what we are currently doing is basically serving as a bridge between companies outside of Indonesia for them to come into Indonesia. We basically serve as the middleman and connect them. We see a lot of very cool technologies, especially in China. So I guess being that bridge is how we see ourselves as being relevant, and how we see ourselves to be kind of like the super connector between technologies that we see outside to the insurance industry in Indonesia as well.
Maybe one last question. Is there a minimum amount of data required for AI model to produce accurate outputs? It's a similar question to before. And is there also a minimum learning period? Maybe the second questions.
I don't think there's a minimum amount of data that's required. And learning period right now, we are not building it from scratch. We're currently just using models that have already been developed. So I would say the minimum frequency, minimum learning period can potentially be quite short. It just needs someone to go and do it, I guess. Which is the whole point. You guys gotta go.
A lot of interesting question. I can see a lot of future collaboration, with future AI. Any last remarks from you before we close?
No, I guess, the reason why everyone is here in this room is to kind of see how we can adopt this new technology. I myself, like I said, not the smartest person in the room, but I don't know whether I'm blessed or it's a curse, but I always like to look at technologies which I think will have a long-lasting impact. Previously, it was crypto. I went into crypto in 2015, and now I think AI will be a big game changer. Like the picture that I shared previously was knowledge that will level the playing field. Now, AI will be the one that is going to level the playing field in terms of the, the knowledge and experience between one person to another, and it's going to help change many things. It's just a matter of, number one, collaboration, taking the initiative to collaborate between insurance companies. I think that's very important to share the data.
Collaboration.
Yeah, and maybe through that collaboration come out with a combined model that all insurance companies could use.
We'll take note of that. How exciting is the future? Being able to predict future risks is the core of our business and its long-term sustainability. So that brings us to the end of our first day of Indonesia Insurance Summit. The future is predictive, how AI transforming risk assessment and claims management. Let's give a round of applause, Pang Xue Kai, CEO, co-founder of AI.
To book Karin as well,
Yes.
for asking all the hard questions.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the day one. And see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the second day. Have a nice evening and enjoy Bali. See you tomorrow.